So welcome to the fourth session of this How to Build Your Canvas course series. My name is Melissa Dagne, and I appreciate you guys being here to listen to this topic. It is how to prepare your graded assignments, and it's super important if you're planning on tracking student work and giving grades in Canvas. You're definitely going to have to go through the motions of setting it up. So I've got my screen shared, and on the left-hand side, I've got that asynchronous course that I've been building along the way. And on the right, I have the academic shell demo of my School of Nursing and Health Professions course, the Pilates course that I was putting together as I demonstrated. So I'd like to, talk a little bit about what Canvas means by assignments and activities. So assignments in Canvas is everything you can give a grade for, whereas an activity is something you can do and students can interact with, but there's just no grades associated with that. So this nice image here, basically shows the difference between the two, just listed out. It's very straightforward. But one of the main features that is so important to understand with this topic is the course stream. So over here on this demo course, I'm going to show you what is the course stream. Well, you have it as faculty, and it's always going to be in the right-hand side unless you are zoomed in, and then it will be down at the bottom. So that's just the browser behavior, the responsiveness, depending on what size monitor you're looking at Canvas from. So it's called the course stream. And when I go into student view, students also have the course stream. So I don't have any activity in here as a student for this demonstration course, so it gives a little warning saying once you start participating, then you'll see stuff here. But your students in a live course will see information. So in this space, for the teacher, I do have some information, and it's basically just telling me the last few things that I updated while I've been working on this course, doing my homework between these sessions. So every time I come, I talk about this topic, and then I'm actually going off and I'm doing the things that I'm talking about. And by the end of the 6 weeks, I'm going to have this course finalized and ready to be published to the students. So one of the things, that the course stream is just really useful is that it's going to show students what they've got going on and like what the most up-to-date changes have been. So that's something that they might want to use, but they might not know that it's there, and you might not have known that it was there. So this button on the right-hand side. The next thing I want to talk about is sort of setting up your grading. So I like to start with rubrics because I feel like, once you've built your assignments, attaching the rubric, you can go back and do that. But if you do your rubrics first, then you can just build your assignments out in one visit. So I'm going to close what pops out to give me more information on rubrics because it's the first time I visited in this course. It wants to give me some tutorial information. What you'll see is a final presentation rubric in this particular course. You might see some other stuff in yours. There may be an online student agreement, an in-person student agreement. There's just some template stuff. You can delete that if it's just, junk to you. But if you have any rubrics, they will have come over, but you need to check them carefully because Blackboard to Canvas, they don't always copy accurately. So when you hover over, you get the delete and the edit options. I'm going to click the pencil to edit. And then you can see how I have basically my criteria and my ratings and my points, and it lists it out, all here for me. I can edit any of this. I can, delete parts that I don't like, and I can really customize to my liking. So I actually have a final presentation in this course that doesn't use this rubric, but if it wanted to, it's actually worth a total of 30 points, and I've only got 20. So I'm actually just gonna, kind of fudge this a little bit and add some extra points here. So let's just see what happens. I'm gonna put in 6, 6, and 6, and then so that's 2, 4, 6. 8, and 10. And come down to the bottom and I say update. And now I have a rubric worth 30 points. So that's just, I can edit it, make sure it's all correct and do what I want to do. But then my first option is to go over to my discussion board. So in this particular course, she asks her students to update their final video project. She wants them to put it in the discussion board and then they can all see each other's. So how to add a rubric to a discussion is actually a little different than adding it to an assignment. So I come over here to my 3-dot snowman menu and I can, if it works how it should work, I should be able to add a rubric here. Well, that's unfortunate. So what is going on with, I literally just did this morning. And I'm curious if my rubric, so there is a rule that if you've done something, you can have a problem. So I'm going to add another one just to double check my theory here that I'm having an error. Example rubric, I've got it here. I'm going to come back over to my discussions and I'm going to, yep, no, okay. How about here? Here we go, finally. Okay, so once you go into edit, like actually select this one, you'll get some more options. And then you can find a rubric from your area and go ahead and add it. So with this one, I'm going to come over here. And I'm just looking for the one that I want to choose. In my course here, and it's going to be my final presentation. And I'm going to say use this rubric. And so now I've attached this rubric to this graded discussion. So honestly, that's all there is to it. It's pretty straightforward. You can make as many of these as you like. You can then attach them to your discussions and assignments. So talking about your discussions, if I go into edit, I can make this graded. It's just a checkbox, so very straightforward. I have points possible. It's worth 30 in this particular course, and I have it put into a final workout video project group. Now, if I didn't have it in the correct group, I also have the option to create a new one here. And you're probably wondering, why do I want to group assignments? Well, if you do weighted grades, or you want to organize all of your assignments into different categories, they're called groups in Canvas, and this is how you would control them. This is just one of several ways you can do this, and I'm going to show you the other way when you're managing for the gradebook. So this is just one option here. And then this particular project is due the last Sunday of this fall course. So I've got that put in, and then I'm going to save it. So my discussion here, I've got 2 graded discussions. One of them is my introduce myself. This one's not worth any points. It's just a participation. You've either completed it or not. That's how this particular instructor decides to take attendance that first week and have people introduce themselves. And then this one is worth 30 points. Next, I'm going to go into my quizzes. And I'm also going to pull up, so I'm going to do editing and grading assignments and quizzes at this point with the syllabus. So it's probably a little hard to see, but over here, she's got it laid out that there's going to be 40% of the grade on journaling, there's going to be 30% on quizzes, and there's going to be 30% on that final video. So I've got 3 quizzes. 2 of them are complete, but I've left the first one to edit in this session. So I'm going to click on the name, and I'm going to click edit. And I'm just going to make sure that the title, the instructions, and all the settings are exactly how I want it to function. So basically, you're talking about the quiz type. It's a graded quiz. In the current classic version, you can also do practice quizzes and surveys, but In the upcoming new quizzes that goes into effect in 2022, you're not going to have that option anymore. It's going to be sort of built in as a workaround. You'll do a non-graded quiz to do practice and surveys. I can shuffle the answers if I want them to change for each person taking the quiz. I can set a time limit. I can allow multiple attempts and tell it how to keep the score of what they did over multiple attempts. I can control when students, if they see that they can either see their responses or not, but then I can also check only once after each attempt, and I can do a date and time release for letting them see the correct answers. So if you don't want students to see anything, that would be handled manually, and you would keep this unchecked. And then you could wait until after everyone's taken it, and then you can come in and you can change the setting and save it. And then students would be able to go back in and take a look. So that's one question I had during this pilot tier program. Showing one question at a time is nice if you are trying to control that they can't go back and change an answer. If that's part of your instructional intent, you definitely have that option, but most people leave this unchecked. For questions, maybe over 25, 30, like a longer test, just for the browser behavior, it can perform a little bit better if you do show one question at a time, just because it's really long. But for anything, 25 questions or shorter, you don't even need to worry about it. You can require an access code. So if you check the box, you can put in the password right there. And then you can also filter by IP address if you want to, make sure it's only students in the building who are taking the quiz. And then of course you can assign to the entire class, you can assign to a specific section, or you can assign to specific students. So that's something to keep in mind. You have lots of choices here, and you can also add multiple ways. So let's say you want everyone to take this quiz by the 1st, but you want to give one specific student 3 extra days. You'd be able to do that by adding another assignment box. Get rid of one, leave it at everyone, and then I'm going to click the date and time. So this was my last year's date. I'm going to click forward 12 months, and I'm going to change this to the 31st, and I'm going to click save and publish. Now, I did that, but how do I know that all of my questions came over from Blackboard accurately? Well, I'm not sure, so I'm going to go back and edit, and I'm going to double check that. The details were handled on the first tab. The questions are on the second tab, and I can click this checkbox right at the top of the page, and that will show me the correct answer and all of the answer choices. As long as I have, I believe, 25 to 30 questions or fewer. If you have a very long exam, this will not work, and it will give you a reason why. I do believe it will pop up and say, this is only available if you have fewer than X questions. So I can scroll down and I can double check, like everything looks okay, make sure my answers are accurate. Sometimes you can have some strange formatting. You'd be able to edit a question. You could change the point value. You can fix it with the rich content editor, and then you can update the question to save those changes. And I'm just going to scroll down to the bottom, and everything in this one looks good. So I can add new questions. I can add new question groups, and I can really edit the quiz in any way I need to moving into the new semester. Now, of course, you can also come back to quizzes and you can add a new quiz, just like you could add a new discussion board. So if I do that, I'm going to get this pop-up. It's going to say, do you want to choose classic or do you want to choose new? If you're just learning Canvas and you're brand new to it and you want to go ahead and jump into the new quizzes and learn that first, by all means, feel free. However, it's new. and everybody else is learning it with you. So if you called me and asked me a question, I would go through and have to play with it and have to figure it out along with you, which it's not very hard. I'm going to select one and say I want to actually do it. I'm not going to say remember it because I want to be able to use the old one still, but I can click submit here and it will bring up, it looks very similar, right? There's not a whole lot of changes, except it's going to take me to a different place to do my questions rather than the way you saw it. So I'm going to say example, new quiz, and I'm going to say save. And at this part, it's going to do this thing and it's going to take a minute and then it's going to load. And this is what it looks like to build the questions instead of that format I just showed you. So honestly, in my opinion, it's great. It's still friendly, but the old one is a little bit more streamlined, and having to go to this new space, it's just a little bit different of a layout. So I can click plus and I can select my question type here, and I can do all of the same things that I was doing in the old format, the classic. So sample question and title. So if you title your questions, when you run the reports later, if you choose to, and you want to look at the data that's outputted for after your students take the quiz, having a question title can make it a lot easier to sort through them. Otherwise, you're just going to see the full question stem, and it's probably going to be called question by default. So you'll just have question, 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 and whatever this stem is, which could be a full sentence or 3 long. So it's just not very user-friendly for looking at the data. You type your answer choices and select the correct one. And then of course, you've got options down at the bottom to select from. So I'm going to choose cancel because I'm not actually going to finish this out. And I'm going to choose to return to my quizzes area in my course. I'm actually going to delete this because I'm not going to be using it. She's got 3, they're from classic quizzes. And before we roll into only having new quizzes as an option in summer of 2022, we will be able to select a button that says update this to new quiz format, and it will manage that. So it's pretty easy. So all of my quizzes are up to date. They're all published. I've made sure all the dates are correct, all the points are correct. And then I'm going to keep going, and I'm going to talk about my actual assignments. So I'm going to click on assignments, not announcements. And in this space, I am going to control every single graded thing I want in this course. And I'm also going to control building my gradebook from this page. So in Blackboard, you actually went into the gradebook and you could do some things. But in Canvas, all of your gradebook is going to be built based on what you have on the assignments page. So as I'm scrolling down, you'll see my discussion and my final project discussion. They're already on this page. Even though I was managing them over here in the discussion area, it knew to sync in the back end because they're graded, it puts them on my assignments page. I'm also going to have all of my journals that I've got assigned, and then my quizzes I built in the quiz area, but again, because they're graded, Canvas knows to put them on the assignments page. Otherwise, they wouldn't be included in the gradebook, so that's really important. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to make this assignments calculate exactly what is in the syllabus for this course. So the way I do that is I've got Pilates workout journaling is right at the top, and I've got one that's not updated. So I'm going to click on this. I'm going to right click and I'm going to open it in a new tab, and I'm going to come over here to edit. So everything's fine with the name. I've got some instructions here that's all good. And then I'm going to scroll down to make sure that I've got everything set up how I want it. So the points is still 10. The assignment group is still going to go into the journaling assignment group. I want points. It's going to be an online submission where I'm allowing a file upload because my instructions you see, submit one Word doc that has your journaling. Unlimited attempts. So this particular instructor lets her students upload as many times as they want. She'll grade the last one. There's no plagiarism review for this, but if you are interested in checking your students' papers for plagiarism, you would make this a Turnitin assignment right here. And then you also get to control when students see the reports after you've selected Turnitin. So this can be made into a group assignment. I know I mentioned last week and possibly the week before that too. Always wait to do your group assignment settings after you've created your groups in your academic course when your students are enrolled. So it's just a workflow recommendation. If you create a group assignment before you put students in groups and students are actively in the course, Canvas will allow them to do it individually, and you will just have a mess that has to be deleted, and then they would have to start over, because unlike Blackboard, Canvas does not put in the group part in order to be able to self-enroll or wait for a group assignment. So always set up your groups first, then handle the group assignment portion if you're going to do group grades. You can require peer reviews. This, again, it's a little bit more advanced, but basically you would select it. You would tell if you want to manually assign them or if you want it to automatic. I like the automatic feature because it's, super easy. You can say, I want each person to review 2 papers and that you want them to assign it by a certain date. So this is going to be, I have to turn in my stuff and then I'm going to have my reviews assigned to me. So everybody has to recognize there's going to be 2 dates and they need to follow those dates. If you've got students who don't do their work on time, then you'll have reviewers who don't have work to grade. I'm actually going to take this off because I'm not going to do peer review. And then I've already got last year's date in here. I'm going to fast forward 12 months and fix it to be for this upcoming fall. So it was the 25th and now it's going to be the 24th. And I'm going to save and publish. So I'll come back to my assignments page. I'm going to refresh to have my update. And you'll notice how I added assignment to the end of this title, but I haven't done it to the others. Well, I'm actually going to do that, and I can do it quickly by clicking edit. And this is like the shortcut. It just lets you make a few changes really quick. More options will take you to the full area that I was just in, but we don't have to go there to make these small edits. And then I also have a way that I can edit my assignment dates all on the same page. If I were not wanting to have to fast forward the 12 dates like you just saw me do, I can come in and I can manage that in this space. So I'm going to cancel because I'm not going to batch edit. And I'm going to just do my quick updates here. And you might be wondering, well, what difference does it make if you have this assignment word in there? Well, when I show you how this is set up in the modules, it might make more sense. So almost done. And now I'll show you in my assignments for modules. I've got the first module built out for week 1. Well, you'll see how I have week 1 first Pilates workout, week 1 second Pilates workout. The instructions for these workouts are to do the workout and then journal, and then do the second workout and journal. And then the journaling assignment is where they actually turn it in. So sometimes just having the descriptive makes it make a little bit more sense from the modules page, separated from the actual instructions for when you come into a specific area. So now that I've done that, I have basically got all of my assignments for journaling are in this Pilates workout journaling group. All of my quizzes, which you'll see her syllabus says Blackboard quizzes, she'll want to make updates on this, but they're all three going to be in the quizzes section. And then the final workout video is down here in the final workout video project. This academic honesty, check your papers for plagiarism, is not published at all. And that's because it's part of the blueprint pieces. So it comes with your course, but we're not planning on using it. So I'm leaving it turned off. And I'm actually going to move this turned off example into my other space. And I'm going to delete this so my students don't even see academic honesty tool on their end at all. So I've just completely hidden it by putting it into participation. So my participation grade is not counted over here. You guys see that it's 40, 30, 30. I'm going to handle that in this upper right-hand corner with the 3-dot snowman menu by choosing assignment groups weight. And it's going to take it a sec, but once it loads, and if it acts strange, just close it, refresh your page, and try again. And sometimes it does that just through browser issues. They can be finicky. I'm going to select weight final grades based on assignment groups. And I'm not going to give anything for my participation category. That's just going to be incomplete or complete for their introduction. They're either going to have attendance or not. And then the second one was a bonus assignment. I have offered, well, not myself personally, but the instructor has offered, if you do the extra credit, I will drop one of your lowest grades from either Pilates journaling or quizzes. So she'll be able to manage that manually with the way she offers it in her syllabus. So this one I'm going to put in, the journaling is 40%, quizzes are 30, and the final project is 30. And I'm going to say save. And now you'll see these indicators have popped up on the right-hand side of each group. My assignments is fully built out. This course is pretty straightforward and pretty simple, so there's not a huge amount. But now when I go to my grades area, everything I built on my assignments page is now going to be represented by a column in my gradebook. So I've got my introduce myself discussion board, my extra credit, my check my papers is unpublished and showing me that right there. And as I scroll around, to the right, I've got my week 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way through 6. And then I've got my 3 quizzes. And then I have my final project. And then I have my total columns for the averages. So each group will be averaged, and then the percentage that I have indicated will be applied, and that's going to be this total grade. And then of course there's the total grade at the end for all 3 groups. And this total column is going to be affected by my grading rubric, this final grade evaluation rubric that's in my course settings. And when you can view my grading scheme, these numbers are represented in this table, and that's how it's going to apply to get that final letter grade. So in the gradebook, you've got some control, okay? You've got the ability to look at learning mastery paths, which I'm going to talk about next week in our modules and structures. So you can control the behaviors in your course with modules, and you can control graded expectations with mastery paths. And so we'll talk about those next week. You can look at the individual view for one single student. And you can also see the gradebook history for anything that you've done at all to see all the changes. And that's especially useful if you're working with a co-teacher and you want to see, maybe how somebody has altered the gradebook. So that's the first gradebook dropdown. The second one is the view. You can arrange in different orders. So depending on how you like to look at your grades, you can filter. So let's say I only want to look at Module 1. I can make everything else go away, and now I'm only looking at the components that are in the first module. And then, of course, I can come back and I can take the filter off, and it will take it away. I can also add notes or not. So the check mark is showing me that I had notes and now I do not, and then I can put them back. And this is just a place I can take a note. You know, this student has been absent from class 5 times. Maybe that's going to impact their grade, depending on your syllabus. You can save notes here. And then this bottom one here, this check mark is letting me see unpublished. If I don't want to see unpublished, I can take them away. So again, check mark. This third drop down is going to be your import and export. So I always recommend best practice before you start manipulating your grade book, go ahead and export. So you've saved a version of it for yourself. And then if you have any mistakes or run into technical difficulties, you would be able to import and restore that. So you also have this gear setting on the right-hand side. We check that, you're going to have late policies and grade posting policies. So you get to control sort of how grades are managed in your course. Make sure that you communicate with your co-teachers. So one of the questions I have received this semester is, why are my students getting a 0 on this quiz? It's open, they can take it as many times as they want, but they keep getting a 0 no matter what their actual score was. Well, that's because they had applied a late policy. They were showing late because they had a due date set, and Canvas didn't know that they didn't actually mean that in the way that they thought it was going to function. So the due date would have had to have been taken off of those quizzes that they could do as many times as they wanted indefinitely. And then the late policy wouldn't apply to it. So keep that in mind, the cause and effect. And then of course your grade posting policy. When you grade, do you want them to automatically see, or do you want them to be hidden until you choose to release them? That's where you would control that. It's going to automatically post by default, so that's something to keep in mind. Now, Canvas also, as you have columns here, you've got different information. You can sort and see, you know, the data in different ways. You can also, you can assign a grade posting policy per column as well. So maybe for most things you want it to automatically post, but for the final exam, you want it to be when you choose because you need some extra time to grade or something like that. You can do that here. Okay, so I'm going to go back to my assignments. And this was basically organizing your page so that it sets up your gradebook. And I did the grading scheme in the course setting so that it's going to calculate. And then, of course, we weighted so that it knows how much everything's worth. And now I'm going to be able to use the student view button to take all of the things that I've set up as a student, and that will put in test student grades into the gradebook so that I can actually double check to make sure that it's calculating the way I want it to. I can see what it's like to get student submissions. You can practice grading with the speed grader. All of that happens by using the student view button. And then of course, if you don't like what you've done and you want to reset, you can click that button and that will clear the data and give you a chance to do it again as many times as you want. And so this is basically going to be represented. I'm going to leave student view and I'm going to right click on my grades so you can see that's the only individual that I have in my course at this time. Okay, so the best part about doing all of your assignments and due dates is that when you come over to your syllabus, All of that information is going to automatically be populated in the course summary that's right below my syllabus document. Everything that I have entered, and it will show the students as well as with a link to be able to get to it. So this is nice. And this is also going to be represented on the calendar. I'll have to jump forward to October when the course starts and make sure that my course is turned on. So that's going to be this one here. And then you'll see all of my stuff is in pink, showing exactly what I set them up for. And students will see that as well. Okay. What questions do you guys have?
I think at this time I don't have any. You did a really good job of going through all the components.
Yeah, it's pretty friendly. If you're doing something a little bit more complex, it can take, a little bit of thought. But I just really, in all of the courses that I built, I just always look at that syllabus and bring the syllabus to life. Exactly what we're telling the students is what I try to replicate using the same words, right? Like everything just being a one-on-one comparison so that there's as few questions as possible so they're not confused. There's some really neat student view from their perspective. They're able to go in and change how they see this order. So if you go into the student view on the assignments page, they can show by type and see what you're looking at, or they can show by due date. They can search for assignments. When they go into grades, they get to actually, arrange by all of the different types and can kind of see different perspectives. They can print their grades, and they really, it breaks it down for them like super, super fast.
Well, thank you. I know it was just the two of us, but we appreciate you still going through it all.
Oh, absolutely. No, this is great. If you guys don't have more questions, I'll stop the recording, but I am also here if you guys have anything else that you want to talk about.